I'm Jelena Ćurčić. I work at the Novartis Institute for Biomedical Research, and I was part of Work Package 4, Devices and Analytics, leading from the FPS side together with Spiros.
So, hello, I'm Spiros Nikolopoulos. I'm a senior researcher at the Center of Research and Technology in Hellas, in the Information Technologies Institute. I was the academic branch of the leading Work Package 4 that has to do with devices and features, and all of them had to be combined in a multimodal setting that was led by Srini.
Thanks, Spiros. I'm Srinivasan Vairavan. I am a Director of Data Science and Digital Health in Janssen R&D. And I lead a lot of digital health and data science strategy across neuroscience programs in Janssen. And I co-lead the clinical work package along with my colleague Casper here. In this project, in addition to that clinical work package, I also look into the multimodal integration of the unique data sets that we have in RADAR-80.
From the academic side, apart from coordinating the chaos, which was all about Work Package 4 at some point, there was about being able to examine whether managing finances is one thing that can actually tell us something about the decline that may have to individuals. So we were using a device that has to do with simulating, like using an ATM machine, and we had people practicing there, putting their pins or putting an amount to withdraw from the bank and see how well they can do it, well, how much time they had to spend on doing this stuff, how many repetitions were there, and so on. So this was our personal interest to be able to see whether something that's simulating managing finances can actually tell us something about whether there has been some early signs of decline. And this was for one device, the banking app, as we call it, but this was similar for other devices like Jelena?
Exactly. So we had also similar simulation. You know how in real life, we are always in dual tasking mode. So let me explain. We are walking towards the tram station, but we are thinking, what I'm going to cook this evening. So we are always in a situation of dual tasking. So this is what we are trying to simulate in this study. We were trying to we were putting sensors on the participants where they walked and counted backwards. So we loaded them with a cognitive task. What we have seen is as they progress, as the patients, as the cognitive decline progresses, we are slowing down. They're slowing down in their walking, and we introduce irregularities in their walking. So they are losing balance. So these are quite interesting results, since this can lead to falls and hospitalizations as well.
And I think, like I mentioned, these are unique devices that we have in RADAR-80, and as a team, we mapped all these devices to different functional domains, and indeed there is a potential advantage in combining these different devices for a unique multimodal signature. So again, from my experience in the multimodal data analysis, there was indeed a stronger multimodal signature in distinguishing these groups. And again, these performances are much higher when compared to utilizing these devices by themselves, which again gives to the fact that it is indeed a strength in combining them, and again, which can essentially translate this field into deployment of potential RMTs, which can really transform the understanding the disease trajectories.
What we are doing here is searching for better measures of function. Our conventional measures are quite bad. They are highly variable. They're asking the care partner, the study partner, about the participant in the study, so high variability there. And we think we can find better, stronger measures of functional decline in our cohort. So we have started very early, where in the phase where the biomarkers are active. However, clinically we don't see much. Why? Because our clinical measures are not so good. So this is where we think we can do better, much better, with objective measures to put context into the clinic.
Yeah, and again, I think these measures are so important, as you mentioned, because they accurately track the functional deficits if they happen in the trajectory. And again, from my perspective, I'm thinking at like if we design a clinical trial in future, I would potentially see these devices as also helping in studying the right patient population for the clinical trials, and also deploy them in a manner to track the disease progression over time, because essentially with all this, the landscape of Alzheimer's changing with many drug approvals, you essentially need to understand, does these drugs really change the functional deficits that they have, or to improve them with this medication. So essentially it really gives us a unique proposition with these digital devices to really track the disease progression with a very minute level.
Exactly, yes. What I also to say is that repeating what they have said, it's important that we'll be able to do this objectively without relying on subjective opinions of the carers or the patients themselves. To do it as early as possible, because all these drugs that are being now tested and approved do make sense when you do this at the very early stages of the disease, when the disease starting to have some clinical symptoms, maybe already late, and do this in a manner that is somehow embedded in our everyday life, in an unobtrusive manner. So this is what's so important, to be able to have digital biomarkers that can be done with a smartwatch or mobile app and so on. So these have to be done as part of your everyday life, to be done repeatedly, so you can establish some trends, and then they can tell you when a trend has been shifted. And this is starting to make sense that something, maybe this is a very early sign of something that will come later on. And this is something that the clinician can evaluate to be able to suggest some intervention, either a drug or some other type of intervention. This is what is important.
So we are already using actually results of radar AD. So for example, we have very good, very well-defined clinical cohorts, and we have a lot of assessments in the clinical assessments, and also digital over time, right? So we are already using these results in the sense of which scale to use in our clinical trials, especially so speaking from the industry point of view, right? Also which devices, for example, have better patient feedback, or right, which are easier or more difficult to implement in our trials, right? Yeah, we are already using these results now.
Yeah, I think this is a great learning experience from Radar AD, because we investigated a plethora of devices in this exercise, and then we have got a good feedback from both patient perspective as well as from the technical perspective, how it works. And these insights are essentially help us shape our strategy in how we deploy digital devices in the trials, and again utilize them to track progression as well as select patients for the trials.
And from an academic perspective, I must say that it's one of the very few datasets that is of that value, and it's rich in terms of the people that were involved, the different cohorts that were involved, and the number of devices that were used. So it's a very rich dataset that goes in very much depth. So there will be a lot of academics that will actually pick up this dataset and do their job and do their work and extract some valuable insights, maybe leading to some of your products.